it's hard to argue when you see that picture of him with Virginia Roberts when she was allegedly around 17. That's what she claims. And she claims that she serviced him sexually 3 times and in 3 different locations in London and New York and down at Jeffrey's private island in the Virgin Islands. All of which, again, he denies. And normally we would just see, discovery play out in the civil case. And then when discovery's done, the defendant would move for summary judgment saying, don't let this go to a jury. Give me a judgment on the papers, Your Honor, because all the evidence that she's amassed in this case, even if we take it as true in the light most favorable to her, doesn't make a case. But he can't really do that. I mean, maybe he could legally, but he's fighting a PR war too. And it seems like the British public has about had it and is not going to give him any more leeway on that PR war.
No, because he had an opportunity. And just remember what discovery would mean for Prince Andrew. It would mean, for example, his daughters, the Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, potentially having to give evidence and say under oath whether their dad was telling the truth when they claimed that he was having dinner with them at a Pizza Express restaurant rather than at Tramp nightclub, where he was claimed to have been with Epstein and Epstein's victim. So it's just really not tenable. Obviously, the issue at the moment is this a financial play by Virginia Giuffre? Obviously, she says it's not. Prince Andrew and his team certainly think it is, Megyn, because he's currently selling his £10 million ski chalet to prepare to pay.
Wait a minute. Did you say Tramp nightclub? T-R-A-M-P?
Yes.
Why
Yes,
did you
so
not take me there
isn't it?
when I came and visited you in London? Doug and I would have gone with you to Tramp.
Because there's loads of sleazeballs there, Megyn, just like Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein, looking for a very young woman.
The thought of Prince Andrew sitting in a nightclub called Tramp is in and of itself kind of shocking. But okay, so yes, let's talk about the money. If he has to pay her, and I feel like he will pay her, he will settle this, even though she's saying it's not about money. I want to hold him accountable. But listen, let's face it. She's not an independently rich woman. If he makes the check big enough, she's going to take it and go away. And David Boies, her lawyer, certainly is going to take it and go away. I got a lot of things to say about him. Anyway, how does he pay for that? And is the Queen actually funding right now Prince Andrew's defense?
She has been, yeah. And I mean, that's the disgrace in all of this. So in the statement released by Buckingham Palace yesterday, they insisted that Prince Andrew would be fighting this case as a private citizen. But that doesn't mean he isn't running to Mummy Dearest and asking her to dip into her very deep pockets. Because, of course, yes, the Queen is partly funded by the state, but she also has a very large personal fortune. And the £10 million ski chalet, most people think is only going to cover some of his legal costs. So we're in this crazy world where Prince Andrew may have to ask the Queen to pay the settlement that goes to Virginia Giuffre. And for a 95-year-old woman who is in her twilight years, who has lived, let's be completely honest, a life without scandal, a life completely dedicated to her country, where she has put her country before herself time and again at great personal sacrifice. I think the position that he's putting the Queen in and the embarrassment that he is causing the Queen, let alone the heartache of her having to watch her favorite son go through this, I just feel like it is a low blow.
What if he's innocent? What if he didn't do it? What if she just named him because she saw a deep pocket and all this stuff is happening to him unfairly? Yes, he's a rube in front of the camera. He's not smooth. He said a bunch of dumb things, but I've tried enough cases and been involved in enough to know, people aren't always perfect when you get them in front of the cameras. And sometimes they say dumb stuff, even though they're totally innocent.
Well, especially someone as entitled and delusional as Prince Andrew. I mean, Megyn, I've been reporting this case now for well over a decade. And I think probably the most fascinating day was the day after that BBC interview, when I spoke to one of my sources very close to Prince Andrew, and he'd actually gone to church with the Queen at Windsor Castle. And at that point, remember, you've got everyone in Britain saying, Prince Andrew's finished. This was the most ridiculous interview we've ever heard in our life. What does he mean he can't sweat? He's lost all credibility. Prince Andrew actually told the Queen that morning, Mummy, I did great. This is over. Boy. So this is a man who lives in a different world, Megyn. He is very privileged. He's never had anyone telling him what to do or how to act. And that's one of the problems with royalty, obviously. So, right. Look, I think there's a chance Prince Andrew is innocent. Of course I do. He has not been proven guilty of anything when it comes to the conduct of his behavior with Virginia Giuffre. But the key point, Megyn, is the one that you raised earlier in the interview. Why did he go and spend the weekend staying with Jeffrey Epstein after he had already gone to jail for child sex trafficking? And remember, if it wasn't my old newspaper, The News of the World, and my current newspaper, The Daily Mail, that has been on this story for years and years and years, that visit would have remained secret. Remember, it was a paparazzi picture that actually captured Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew on that walk through Central Park. Now, if that photographer hadn't been there, perhaps this story would never have come to public light, and Andrew and Epstein would have got away with the entire thing. And then, of course, it was the Mail on Sunday newspaper, which is part of the Daily Mail group, that first ran that picture, that very consequential image of Virginia Giuffre and Prince Andrew with convicted sex trafficker now Ghislaine Maxwell in the background. So I don't know about you, Megyn, but I would say whether or not Prince Andrew had sexual relations with Virginia Giuffre, there are still serious questions for him to answer based on everything we know about his incredibly close relationship with Epstein and Maxwell.
And just to take our audience back, Dan, to that BBC interview, because most of our audience probably didn't see that. I wonder why he gave it, because it was universally panned as awful and a death knell to his public reputation. I wonder why he gave it. And then you referenced the sweating comment. We actually have that cut. So I'm going to play a soundbite. Then you can explain to the audience what on earth he was doing here. Okay, let's listen.
She was very specific about that night. She described dancing with you and you profusely sweating, and that she went on to have possibly.
There's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time, and that was yes, I didn't sweat at the time because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at. And I simply, it was almost impossible for me to sweat. And it's only because I have done a number of things in the recent past that I'm starting to be able to do that again. So I'm afraid to say that there's a medical condition that says that I didn't do it.
Oh, Dan. Thoughts?
Come on. He didn't sweat then. He does sweat now. There's absolutely no proof of this medical condition. He doesn't have doctor's notes backing it up. Come on. He wasn't a credible witness. It was a car crash, and it did effectively finish him off.